As the gentle Caribbean breezes weave through the palms, an intense geopolitical storm is gathering on the horizon. The idyllic turquoise waters, a traditional sphere of US influence, now reflect the rising sun of China's ambitions. This chessboard of islands, once considered merely as soft, sandy retreats or hurricane-prone locales, has increasingly become a focal point of major power contests. The soft lapping of the waves belies the sharp strategic moves and counter-moves being played out between Washington and Beijing. As these global giants lock horns over this cluster of islands, the stakes are not just regional, they are profoundly global, touching upon the very sinews of international stability and order. It is this unfolding drama that forms the crux of our exploration. We stand at a precarious moment in history where the decisions of these great powers and the responses of independent Caribbean states could significantly shift the dynamics of international relations. Historically, the Caribbean Sea has acted as a blue moat protecting the southern approaches to the United States. From the Monroe Doctrine to the Cold War installations like the Guantanamo Bay Naval Base, the region has been strategically significant for the US, serving both as a buffer zone and a sphere of influence. This engagement has often oscillated between benevolent neighbor and interventionist power, heavily influencing both the politics and economies of Caribbean nations. Post-World War II, the US emerged not merely as a regional leader, but as a global superpower, with the Caribbean acting as a critical juncture in its defensive and economic strategies. The end of the Cold War, however, slightly diminished the geopolitical urgency of the region in US policy planning, paving the way for new actors to engage more robustly. China's approach to the Caribbean can be best understood through the lens of its Belt and Road Initiative, BRI. By offering substantial investments in infrastructure, from roads and bridges to ports and telecom networks, China seeks not only economic returns but also strategic footholds. These economic incursions often start as mutually beneficial but gradually tilt the bilateral balances of power. As China solidifies its presence, concern grows in Washington. The pattern of these engagements mirrors China's strategies in other parts of the world, suggesting a blend of economic ambitions with strategic objectives. This dual use of economic tools for geopolitical gains displays a sophisticated understanding of geoeconomics that directly challenges U.S. interests in the region. While the economic engagement is the most visible aspect of China's Caribbean strategy, the military implications are perhaps more subtle, yet equally significant. Increased port calls by Chinese naval vessels and the potential for dual-use infrastructure raise alarming possibilities for the U.S., which sees these developments as potential threats to its security apparatus in the region. The speculation about Chinese military bases in the Caribbean, while unconfirmed, highlights a potential shift in regional security dynamics. Such a scenario would represent a significant challenge to the US dominance and could recalibrate military strategies on both sides. Political influence and soft power. China's strategy in the Caribbean is not limited to economic and military realms. Politically, Beijing has been adept at wielding soft power, leveraging cultural exchanges, educational scholarships, and diplomatic engagements to foster a positive image and influence local governments. This soft power extends into media and public perception, subtly reshaping viewpoints and creating a favorable environment for China's broader objectives. Through Confucius Institutes and cultural festivals, China promotes its culture and language, which indirectly serves its geopolitical interests by creating a layer of influence that is less confrontational but deeply impactful. These initiatives are part of a broader strategy to win hearts and minds, which is crucial for sustaining long-term influence in the region. Caribbean responses between influence and independence. Caribbean nations, aware of their strategic geographic locations, have skillfully navigated the waters between the Scylla of US traditional influence and the Charybdis of Chinese emerging presence. While economic pressures and the allure of infrastructure projects make Chinese offers attractive, there remains a keen awareness of the need for autonomy and the risks of overdependence. These nations are not passive players in this geopolitical game. Instead, they leverage the competition to their advantage, extracting better terms and more investment from both powers. Their agency is crucial in reshaping the Caribbean's international relations and underscores the importance of acknowledging these nations as active participants with their own agendas and not merely as pawns in a larger game. Economic impacts on local economies. The influx of Chinese capital and projects has undeniably boosted local economies in the Caribbean. Infrastructure projects create jobs, enhance transportation, and promise to boost tourism and trade. However, these projects often come with strings attached, debt dependency, favorable conditions for Chinese companies, and labor practices that sometimes involve importing Chinese workers over hiring locals. The economic benefits are tangible, but so are the risks of debt trap diplomacy, where countries may fall into a cycle of dependency that compromises their economic sovereignty. This complex economic landscape presents both opportunities and challenges for Caribbean countries, requiring careful navigation to maximize benefits while minimizing risks. Jamaica stands out as a prime example of how Caribbean nations engage with China. The island has embraced Chinese investment with open arms, seeing it as an opportunity to accelerate development. Projects such as the construction of highways and the development of special economic zones have been heralded as transformative, yet they also raise concerns about debt sustainability and economic sovereignty. The case of Jamaica illustrates the broader patterns of Chinese engagement in the region and serves as a useful lens through which to understand the potential benefits and pitfalls of such partnerships. It highlights delicate balance that nations must maintain between welcoming development and maintaining autonomy. In the Dominican Republic, Chinese involvement has been marked by major infrastructure projects, including a significant investment in the telecommunications sector. The shift in diplomatic recognition from Taiwan to China in 2018 opened the door for increased Chinese presence, which has since been both criticized and welcomed within different segments of the Dominican society. This pivot illustrates the geopolitical implications of China's engagement, which extends beyond economic aspects to influence diplomatic alignments in the region. The Dominican Republic's experience underscores the multifaceted nature of China's strategy in the Caribbean, involving a mix of economic, political, and strategic elements. The United States, historically the hegemon in the Caribbean, has responded to China's growing influence with a mix of concern and strategic recalibration. Initiatives like the America Crece, America Grows program aim to counteract China's economic outreach by enhancing U.S. investment in infrastructure across the region. However, these efforts often lag behind China's offerings in both scale and speed. American policy adjustments also involve enhancing diplomatic engagements and renewing commitments to aid and development programs. Nonetheless, the challenge remains significant, as the U.S. must balance its global strategic interests with the specific needs and aspirations of Caribbean states, ensuring that its actions do not appear as merely reactive to China's maneuvers. International organizations play a pivotal role in shaping the dynamics between China, the US, and the Caribbean nations. Bodies like the Caribbean Community, or CARICOM, and the Organization of American States, also known as OAS, are platforms through which smaller Caribbean states can amplify their voices and safeguard their interests in the face of great power competition. These organizations are crucial in advocating for Caribbean priorities and can serve as mediators and facilitators of fair dealings with larger powers. Their involvement ensures that the Caribbean states do not have to navigate these geopolitical waters alone, providing a collective bargaining power that is greater than the sum of its parts. Looking ahead, several scenarios could unfold in the Caribbean. One potential future sees China continuing to expand its influence, solidifying economic and possibly even military footholds. Another scenario could involve the US successfully countering Chinese moves with robust policy initiatives and renewed regional engagement. Alternatively, Caribbean nations could increasingly assert their agency, possibly forming a unified bloc that negotiates from a position of strength, balancing the influences of both China and the US while prioritizing regional autonomy and development. As China and the US vie for influence, environmental considerations come to the forefront. The construction of large-scale infrastructure projects has significant ecological impacts, from deforestation to pollution. Climate change, rising sea levels, and hurricane vulnerability make environmental stewardship in the Caribbean not just a policy preference, but a survival imperative. Both great powers must recognize that their actions in the Caribbean have profound environmental implications. This awareness should guide their engagement strategies, ensuring that the pursuit of influence does not come at the cost of environmental degradation. The human security angle, migration, crime, and social effects, increased geopolitical tension, and economic changes in the Caribbean also impact human security. Issues such as migration, crime, and social displacement often accompany large infrastructure projects and shifts in political alliances. For many Caribbean citizens, the primary concern is not the geopolitical chess game, but the immediate impacts on their lives and communities, ensuring that local populations benefit from foreign investments and are protected from potential negative impacts is crucial for sustainable development and stability in the region. Technological influence and cybersecurity implications. Technological investments, particularly in telecommunications and digital infrastructure, bring not only development opportunities, but also cybersecurity risks. As China invests in the region's digital landscape, concerns about data privacy, surveillance, and cyber sovereignty emerge. It is essential for Caribbean countries to develop robust cybersecurity strategies and infrastructure to protect their digital domains. Cooperation with international partners, including both China and the US, should be carefully managed to ensure technological advancements do not compromise national security. Legal and normative concerns. The legal and normative frameworks within which China and the US operate in the Caribbean also deserve scrutiny. Issues such as adherence to local laws, international regulations, and norms of good governance are critical in ensuring that engagements by these powers are beneficial and not exploitative. Strengthening legal institutions in the Caribbean is essential to managing foreign engagements effectively. Caribbean nations must insist on transparency, accountability, and respect for sovereignty as they engage with both China and the US. Conclusion. Implications for global geopolitical strategies. The strategic interplay in the Caribbean between the United States and China is more than a regional concern. It is a microcosm of global shifts in power, as China seeks to extend its influence through economic and political means, and the US aims to reassert its traditional role. The decisions made in this region will echo across the world stage. Understanding and respecting the agency of Caribbean nations is vital in this context. Their ability to navigate these complex dynamics while maintaining their sovereignty and achieving developmental goals will be crucial. For global watchers, the Caribbean offers key insights into the evolving nature of international relations and the strategies of major powers. As this chess game continues, the world watches closely, knowing that the moves made on the Caribbean board could determine the contours of the new global order. This essay delves into the intricate geopolitical dynamics of the Caribbean as China's growing influence intersects with traditional US dominion. In exploring these interactions, the essay illuminates the strategic maneuvers of two global giants and the proactive agency of Caribbean nations. The analysis underscores the multifaceted impacts, economic, military, political, and beyond, that these engagements entail, offering a comprehensive look at a region at a crossroads of significant global interests. Through detailed case studies and reflective scenarios, the complexities of this geopolitical chess game are laid bare, highlighting significant implications for regional and global stability. As the gentle Caribbean breezes weave through the palms, an intense geopolitical storm is gathering on the horizon.